The blood in your veins does not guarantee loyalty in their hearts. That is the first lesson no one teaches you, and the last one you learn when it is already too late. You can survive a stranger's betrayal. You can recover from a friend who turns his back. But the wound that never fully closes is the one that comes from someone who shares your last name, your childhood home, your holiday table. Machiavelli understood something the world still refuses to accept, that proximity is not proof of loyalty, and blood is not a bond. It is only a beginning. We are raised to believe family is sacred, untouchable, a fortress where we are always safe. But history, real history, tells a darker story. Brothers who poisoned brothers for a crown. Sons who waited, patiently, hungrily, for their father's throne. Sisters who smiled in public and schemed in private. Machiavelli did not write about strangers when he warned of betrayal. He wrote about courts, about palaces, about families, because that is where power truly lives and where the mask is thinnest. Ask yourself something uncomfortable right now. Who in your family has never once celebrated your pain, even quietly, even in a place they never admit to themselves? Who watched you struggle and felt something other than sadness? You already know the answer. You have felt it. That flicker of discomfort when you succeeded. That subtle silence when good news should have brought celebration. That is not paranoia. That is perception. And perception, when trained by pain, becomes the sharpest weapon you own. Here is the brutal truth most people are too afraid to say out loud. Not everyone who shares your blood shares your joy. Some family members do not want you to fall completely. They want you close enough to control, low enough to compare themselves favorably, and never so high that your shadow makes them feel small. This is not hatred. It is something quieter, more dangerous. It is comparison dressed as concern. It is control disguised as love. Machiavelli's genius was not cruelty, it was clarity. He refused to romanticize human nature. He looked at people, all people, even those closest to power, and saw ambition, fear, insecurity, and self-interest hiding beneath every relationship. He would tell you plainly, family is not exempt from these forces. If anything, family is where these forces are most dangerous, because you never expect the blow to come from someone standing beside you. Think about the ones who discourage your dreams while calling it protection. Think about the relative who mocks your ambition, then acts wounded when you finally succeed without them. Think about the family member who only shows warmth when you are struggling, who only pulls away when you begin to rise. This is not imagination. This is pattern, and patterns, once you see them clearly, cannot be unseen. There is a particular kind of pain reserved only for family betrayal. A stranger's cruelty confirms nothing about your worth, but a family member's cruelty forces you to question everything, your childhood, your memories, your sense of belonging. That is why this wound cuts differently. It does not just hurt the present, it rewrites the past. But here is where the deeper lesson begins. Machiavelli never taught hatred. He taught awareness. He never said trust no one. He said trust wisely. Trust with open eyes. Trust based on pattern and evidence, not blind sentiment and forced obligation. Family is not something you owe unconditional access to. Loyalty must be earned, protected, and observed, even within the same bloodline. This is the moment where most people make their first mistake. They confuse loyalty with obligation. They believe that because someone is family, they deserve unlimited trust, unlimited access, unlimited forgiveness. But trust is not a birthright. It is a currency, and some people spend your trust carelessly while expecting you to keep giving more. Ask yourself who in your family has access to your dreams before they are ready, your wins before they are earned, your pain before you have healed. Because information, once given to the wrong person, becomes ammunition. Machiavelli knew that power is often lost not through enemies outside the gates, but through whispers inside the house. The most dangerous information is not the one shared with strangers. It is the one shared with someone who smiles at your table and repeats your secrets elsewhere with a different tone. Here is a truth that will feel uncomfortable, but liberating once accepted. You are allowed to love someone and still protect yourself from them. You are allowed to wish someone well from a distance. You are allowed to keep family in your heart while keeping certain doors of your life closed to them. This is not betrayal. This is wisdom. This is what Machiavelli would call self-preservation disguised as diplomacy. Smile, stay respectful, remain calm, but never again hand someone the blueprint to hurt you twice. Now think about the ones who only appear when they need something. The relative who disappears during your hardest months, then reappears the moment you succeed, asking for favors, asking for money, asking for access, as if their absence during your suffering earns them presence during your victory. This is not family loyalty. This is convenience dressed in familiar language. The hardest part of this truth is accepting that walking away from toxic family dynamics does not make you cold, it makes you conscious. Machiavelli believed that survival required seeing people as they are, not as we wish them to be. Applied to family, this means recognizing that shared blood does not erase shared danger. Some people will always love you more in your weakness than in your strength, because your weakness keeps them comfortable, and your strength threatens the story they tell themselves. There is a quiet, painful shift that happens once you understand this. You start protecting your peace the same way you would protect a business, a reputation, an empire. You begin asking, before sharing news, does this person deserve to know this yet? Before asking for help, does this person actually want to see me succeed, or only appear to? Before defending someone out of habit, have they ever defended me the same way, in the same rooms, without hesitation? This is not the language of hatred. This is the language of self-respect, because loving someone honestly sometimes means loving them from behind boundaries they never expected you to build. It means choosing peace over performance, truth over tradition, and self-preservation over blind loyalty. Machiavelli's final lesson, though he never wrote it about family directly, applies here with brutal precision. Power is not maintained by trusting everyone equally. It is maintained by knowing exactly who deserves access and who has only earned distance. Family should be no exception to this wisdom, no matter how uncomfortable that truth feels at 3 in the morning, staring at old photographs, wondering how people who once held your hand could later try to hold you back. So here is your warning, and your final truth. Not every hand that raised you is a hand you must keep holding forever. Not every voice that shares your history deserves a place in your future. You are allowed to protect your dreams from people who share your last name. You are allowed to keep loving them from a distance built by wisdom, not weakness, because the most dangerous enemies were never the strangers you feared. They were the ones who sat closest, smiled the warmest, and knew exactly where to aim. Guard your peace like an empire, choose your circle like a fortress, and remember this above everything else. Silence, distance, and discernment are not betrayal. They are survival.